Welcome, everyone. I'm Sandra Bargman. A few years ago, I wrote and performed a solo show called The Edge of Every Day, which was an exploration of the rough edges and contradictions we all face and grapple with. The show hit a nerve, and the relevance of the topic would only grow over time, more than I could have foreseen. So, here we are. Real talk with real people, sharing stories and perspectives that spark provocative invitations to leap out of what's safe, on the edge of every day. Thanks for listening.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Edge of Every Day, now at maximizeu.life and streaming on your favorite podcast platforms. Are you a change maker? Do you walk between worlds, between cultures, between systems? If you answered yes to any of these questions, The Edge of Every Day is the place for you. In a nutshell, this podcast is about pushing boundaries and exploring rough edges. Through conversations and shared stories with friends and colleagues, it's my hope that we can begin to understand our edges. And what I mean by edges is those places where we are fearful, those places where we are resistant to change, those places where paradox and contradicting identities live in our beliefs and in our understandings, both individually and collectively. We live in edgy, challenging times. We cannot keep looking away from the ugly, from the difficult, and silence is no longer an option. Life isn't black or white, it's both, and I want to talk about that. I want to face the tension of paradox, and I want to engage in the hard conversations. I want to explore the rough edges between our light-filled brilliance and our dark, shadowy corners. Because the more we recognize our own edges and get real about them, the more we can help others to do the same. And that, I fully believe, can help to change the world. So, thanks again for tuning in. You may recall that I started my podcast in 2021 at talkradio.nyc. And while I was there, I recorded 56 episodes with some very inspiring guests. You can listen to all of those episodes live on my YouTube channel, Sandra Bargman, On the Edge of Every Day. Over the next few months, I will be revisiting those episodes and weaving them into my present platform at maximizeu.life, and again, streaming on your favorite podcast platforms. Today's episode was recorded in December of 2021, and it's a wonderful, passionate conversation with my friend and colleague, Everett Quinton, a versatile mainstay of the downtown theater scene in New York as an actor, director, and for a decade, leader of the Ridiculous Theatrical Company. I met Everett in 2004, working together in the Madison Square Garden national tour of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. In our conversation, we reminisced about our time together in that show. He told stories about meeting Charles Ludlum, about becoming a member of the Ridiculous Theatrical Company, and about embracing his distinctive social justice edge. The last time I spoke with Everett was to ask him to direct an updated version of my solo show, The Edge of Every Day, the same solo show upon which this podcast is based. Everett Quinton, the award-winning actor, director, designer, playwright, and downtown legend, sadly passed away in January of 2023. I share this episode again in celebration of his extraordinary life, his immense accomplishments, and for my gratitude for his friendship. I share his bio at the end of our episode and in the show notes for this episode. Thanks again for tuning in. Please enjoy.
Hello.
Hi, my darling daughter.
It's so great to have you. Thank you so much for being on.
I like having friends in high places.
Yeah. So let's dive in. I want to talk about, of course, how I'm starting all of my podcasts, how we know each other. And we met. I had the great good fortune to be on stage with you in the Madison Square Garden national tour of Cinderella, starring the one and only Eartha Kitt. And you as the glorious evil stepmother.
Yes.
And of course, you were my mama. I was the tall, evil stepsister.
But you knocked them dead every night, though.
Oh my God. What a fun we had with that. So tell me, how was that experience for you? I mean, I remember talking to you about it now, but share it with our audience.
Great. It's the only tour I ever did. It's the only national tour I ever did. And I got lucky and got in, and I had to wait. I waited like a couple of months before they told me I had it, because they were star searching and they needed a star. And
you.
No, but if a star wanted the role, if a big name star wanted the role, I wouldn't have gotten it. And then they got their second star, and then I got the role.
Oh,
and I was like really happy.
Well, you were just phenomenal. Talk about rave reviews.
I was born evil.
It was so much fun playing sour and evil. So I have a couple of wonderful, fun memories of you. One of them is a kind one. You were so incredibly. I came in. For our listeners, I didn't start with it. I came in on the second leg. And so I was worked into what had and added to what was already created. And so to be in the scene with you, Everett, and Natasha, it was just freaking hilarious. But, I had to bring my own sort of chops and things, and one of the things I brought was this ridiculous bird call / crazy ape that somehow got worked in, and I don't even remember how it got worked in, but it was worked in, and every single night I got this huge round of applause, and the next line was yours, and you were so kind. You never stepped on that. You just let it happen. And I was blown away by that. I don't know if I ever told you that.
I don't know. I will go back to Shakespeare in Hollywood, and you learn from that. And who's Lacey? Maggie Lacey was right on before me in that, and she got a huge laugh. The first night I stepped on it, because it was our first night out, and I didn't know what expected it, but I never stepped on it again. No.
Oh, it was
we all
boring.
got to shine, baby.
Just your generosity of spirit shines through, and your talent and your friendship.
What goes around comes around, and that's
the truth,
fact.
baby. But I was just going to say my other one was you chewing this. Well, of course you chew the scenery every night, but this one night, oh my God, we all did. The whole family chewed the scenery. That's what I loved about it. But this one night, we had finished the scene. We were in front of the house, and it didn't go out, and the inside of the house didn't roll on, and it was me and you and Natasha and Brooks, and the mortification on our faces, and you went off. You took over and chewed up the scenery, and we were all peeing ourselves and mortified at the same time, because you were so brilliant. You just saved the scene. You made up the scene that moved us along.
Remember one time the furniture fell off the pallet as it came in, and the chair fell off, and I couldn't make you two do it because you were the princesses, and Cinderella, Jamie Siegler, was over on the other side. And I said, "Look what you made me do, Cinderella, and come over here and help me." And we got the thing back on. And I said, "I'm going to beat you to within an inch of your life." And Andre, who was holding the bird, said he had to turn around because he started cracking up.
Oh, no. There were many moments like that.
Yeah. Well, that's the advantages of getting older. You're
truly.
less afraid of things.
Ain't that the truth? Well, so let's move to your childhood.
Oh God.
Well, where the evilness began. How was your childhood? Did you always know that you wanted to be an actor? Did your family go to theater? What was it like?
No, we didn't go to my wait a minute. I'm gonna get a picture of my mother and father. Wait.
Okay, good. How much do we love this? I'm not going to break into song. I promise.
I forgot to get this. This explains. Look at how pretty they were.
Oh my!
This explains. Yeah. She was very beautiful and he was very handsome, but they were like oil and water and they should not have been married. And they were. And now I love my brothers and sisters, but no, we never had anything. So we didn't go to theater. We didn't.
But you went to movies and did you know you wanted to be an actor?
I didn't. I thought I was nuts. I did not know that.
Aren't they the same?
The way I was carrying on was like one time I did this dance in the deli and I was like, afterwards so ashamed of myself. And I didn't realize till later that it was aspiration. And
yeah. Oh.
And there was no.
When did you realize that it was aspiration?
Not till I was older. When I got into the ridiculous and started getting rid of all the nuts, when I found my way to the ridiculous, that's when I realized I had aspirations. And that I just thought I was this bizarre queer who lived, even though I had seen other queers, there's a tendency to think you're the only queer in the world and that you're a target. And so you become kind of guarded and stuff. So I was very unhappy. And then I got into the ridiculous, but my mother, like my parents were boobs and my mother used to say, oh, we should get that voice trained. And there was no one knew how to do that. No one knew how to do it. It would be a good idea to do it. They heard that voice training existed, but they didn't know how. And
they associated it with you, of course.
Well, I used to sing in the church choir, except I got thrown out on Christmas Eve. Because me and Freddie Signano had a fight.
Well, we'll talk about that later, how you're making up for that.
No, but my Freddie Signano said my mother and father were home having sex in the bathtub, and I punched him. And we got thrown out of the choir. Well, I could see them having sex.
Troublemaker and non-singer.
I could see them having sex in the bathtub. I didn't have the idea that your parents had sex. I mean, I was in the 8th grade.
Oh my God.
I was in the 7th grade. It's like.
So your whole family life, your brothers and sisters, were they supportive? Your brothers and sisters supportive of this creative madness and this great juice? No,
we lived in such madness that there was no cleaving unto each other. We were not, like I have friends who say, oh, we're having a family reunion and 10,000 people. And we go, oh God, just think 10,000 of us. No, today we're very happy together, my brothers and sisters, and we're loving and tight. But it was not beautiful. There was nothing there to cling to. We were all running for our lives. I spent the first half of my life literally running for my emotional life.
Okay, so then this brings you to I'm just getting our 2-minute break. So we're going to talk about, when we come back, getting to New York City and getting into the ridiculous. And when we come back with Everett Quinton, that's what we'll be talking about. Stay tuned. Hey there. Thanks for listening to me, Sandra Bargman, and my inspirational guests on the edge of every day here at MaximizeU.life. Making the choice to park my podcast on MaximizeU.life has been a game changer. Maximize You is an AI-powered technology platform to maximize your potential and propel transformation for a balanced, happier, and impactful life. It was a perfect fit. At MaximizeU.life, we ask, how can you alter your mindset, attitudes, and actions and learn the fundamental values and perspectives to drive your growth? Customize your growth plan at maximizeyou.life to maximize impact and achieve your desired goals. Email us at coach@maximizeyou.life.
Pushing down on me, pressing down on you, no man has fall. Under pressure, chipping around, kick my brain to the ground. These are the days it never rains, but it pours on the edge of every day.
And we are back with our guest, Everett Quinton, on the edge of every day. So let's get into the Ridiculous Theatrical. So it was founded in 1967 by Charles Ludlum, and it was based on the genre theater of the ridiculous. And I'm just going to read, for those who are listening in that don't know about this genre, I'm going to read a quick little thing, and then I'll ask you to give all of your depth and nuance to the understanding. Theater of the ridiculous was a distinctly 60s phenomenon that emerged in America just as conservative 50s attitudes were fading. The counterculture was brewing and anti-Vietnam sentiment was rising. The genre arose in what was then New York's gritty downtown lofts, off-Broadway theaters, and unconventional performance spaces. By queering experimental theater and introducing non-actors, drag queens, and fantastical stage constructions and costumes to its productions, Theater of the Ridiculous was a rebellion against the popularity of naturalistic or realistic theater from decades prior. So, of course, I'm going to ask you to talk about the nuances again and the depth around the whole genre and the style of the ridiculous. But before we dive into that, can I ask you about Charles, meeting Charles? How did you meet him? And did you know, I mean, Ludlumania had happened already, yes? It was already going. And when you, just starting, yeah. And then you met him. And did you know of the Ridiculous Theatrical Company? Nothing. So tell us about that story.
Well, like I said, I was a young little queer who I found Manhattan. I found the Village in 1973. And I just started hanging out in the Village. And then I remember, I would hang out and I'd close the bars on Christopher Street. And then I would end up hanging out on the steps of St. Veronica's Church after the bars closed. And it turns out, Sweet William was part of that crowd, and Jackie Curtis was part of this crowd. And I didn't know them. All I knew them were these people. I didn't know I was hanging out with ridiculous luminaries. We were just people hanging out on the street. Right. And then in 1975, I was walking, I stayed out in the bar and I was cruising Christopher Street. It was February night. It was freezing cold. And I was standing on the doorway. And Harry Katukis, the great H.M. Katukis, before I met him, I had seen him. And then when I met him, he called me the Doorway Madonna. And standing in that doorway on Christopher Street next to it was then the Theatre de Lys. I was standing there and I wanted to hook up, I guess. And then I saw this guy walking and he walked and I didn't pay attention. I was just walking up the street and then I turned and he was there. Charles was standing next to me. And then we went back to his house, which is this house, and we did the Nasty for the first time. But in that time, I mean, I didn't know that I had met this luminary, but when we were walking here, he told me he was writing a gay hero. And he was writing a play called Caprice, and it was about a gay hero. And at the time, I didn't understand hero in the sense of the journey of the play. Right. But I did need to hear that there were gay heroes, though.
Yes, indeed.
I'm like the last generation of the self-hating homo. And so anything to pull me out of that. And then I lost his phone number. And then I thought his name was Stephen for some reason. And then I lost the number, so I lost the contact. And then one day I was walking down Christopher Street, and this was in July, and there was a restaurant across from Ty's, and I think it was the Italian or Duff's, I think it was. Mm. And it had an outdoor closed-in thing. And he came out and said these words, the word, "You do exist." And then we stayed together from that point. And it was at that point, I would walk down the street and then I realized I had met someone of stature.
Notoriety.
We all have stature. Everyone has stature, but he had some
notoriety,
theater cred, notoriety.
Yeah.
And then I went, and I was in school. I was failing.
For what?
I was in college, but it was not for me. And I was in the wrong place. And then he was doing Caprice, but they had lost the space. They used to be at the Evergreen Theater on 11th Street. And they lost that space. So they were gypsies and they hadn't found a place to do a play. So the rehearsal period became very long just because they needed to keep busy. And then finally it was getting up. And so I went, they were rehearsing at the Evergreen Caprice. They were about to lose. The people of the Baha'i faith bought the building, and the company was way in debt in back rent. And the Baha'i people said, look, when we ask you to move, if you move with no fuss, we'll forgive all the debt. So you can't argue that. And so gratefully, Charles said that. And so I went, and then I got invited to go to the rehearsal of Caprice. And I walked in, and the first thing I ever saw, there was Zuni Feinschmecker, played by Black Eyed Susan, has this speech, which is just, I think it's out of, the Marquis de Sade or something. It's just filth-laced. And the first thing and he embuggered a goat. Exactly. And I was like, and then the company and it was just filth. And it's an amazing speech. And it stops the show all the time. It was an amazing, amazing speech. And then at the same theater, they were doing a fundraiser called Taboo Tableaus. Mm. And they did it. By now, the company was in existence for about 10 years. So they were doing a scene from each of the productions.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got a crash course in what the Ridiculous was. And I met dear George Osterman that afternoon. And he was a pretty boy. And we were about the same age, although he got to the city and into the theater well before I did. He came here younger than I did. And then that night, I came for the show, and I met George as Bunny Beswick. And he was like he was the tart in Hot Ice. And it was so astounding to me. And because, I knew I was a little drag queen all my life, but it was a dirty little secret.
Right.
And I didn't realize what a significant part of my being it was. At the time, I thought I was just this sick queer. And I had no one to tell me otherwise. And then the last scene of the benefit was the death scene from Camille. And I went into the dressing room, and Charles was dressing up to be Marguerite Gautier. And he had these beautiful big blue eyes, and he was putting his eyelashes on, and he was transforming. And suddenly I realized, oh, wait, there is a place for me. And I don't think I am nuts, and I probably am going to die nuts, but that it's a different kind of nuts. It's a pure nuts that I have today. But then it was corrupted with self-hatred and stuff. And so finally there was a place for me.
Yes.
And then I was writing this. And again, I'd seen these rehearsals for thousands of times and finally it was going to be done at the Performing Garage. So I went to the Performing Garage. I helped out where I could. But then I had to write a paper for school. And I didn't want to be intrusive. So I went up into the rafters of the Performing Garage while they were rehearsing us. I had seen it a million times and I had to write this paper. And I'm sitting up on the stairs and it was freezing. It was February and there was no heat in that room. And then Charles came up to me and said, I just wrote a part and there's nobody to do it. Everyone else is doubling and we're going on tomorrow night. Do you want to do it? And I was so nervous because I had no belief in myself. I went on the next night with just very little rehearsal, just and it was the Trocadero Gloxinia Ballet, because in the play, Adrian, Caprice's lover, and his Twyford Adamant, his rival, is trying to make Caprice jealous. So he tricks Adrian into going to the ballet. And then, so I played Flossie Flanagan and I was the ballerina.
Of course.
And Larry Ray, who was the artistic director of the Trocadero Gloxinia, he was Ekaterina Sobechinskaya. All the people took like Russian names. And I had a mustache at the time. And then Charles said, you'll have to shave that mustache. And I said, okay. And I ran to shave it. And apparently Larry Ray said, oh, he's going to go far. He's willing. And I thought, well, look at that. And then I was in like a sylphide thing and I had this horrible wig. They found me this red wig. It had a big bald patch in the front. But I went on and I got my first laugh. I got my first big laugh and I was hooked. And I would go on as the ballerina and then Caprice would pull me off the stage and he would come on and finish the dance. And I would run by and he'd grab me by my arm and pull me off. And then I would come on all bound and gagged. And that was my first moment on stage.
Wow. Well, we have 2 minutes to break, but I want to make this point about the understanding of, just quickly, some nuances of, I remember when we were talking, you said it wasn't gay theater. And so much of what I read said it was that. And I so loved your nuanced description of what this kind of acting and what this genre was.
Charles objected to the term gay theater. He said he did not want to do to theater what people do to people.
Yes.
But what the Ridiculous is the first honest gay voice. It's not necessarily gay. It's because if it's gay theater, what are all the heterosexual actors in the company? What is their work?
Right.
We're all people and
gay voice.
It's the first honest gay voice. It's the first. Charles always said, if the queer is going to kill himself, he should have a good reason.
And there's a great space to take a break. And when we come back, we will continue with Everett Quinton on the Edge of Every Day. Stay tuned. Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening to me, Sandra Bargman, on the Edge of Every Day here on MaximizeU.life. I am committed to having courageous conversations around the important issues we face in our complex world. You may know that I'm a lifelong performing arts professional, and I am a seminary-trained and ordained interfaith minister. But did you know that I'm an impactful communication teacher? What to say, how to say it, and why it matters is at the heart of everything I do and everything I teach. Check out my online course, The Big Approach, here at MaximizeU.life to build your confidence and presence for more impactful communication. The Big Approach is not about bigger, louder, faster. The Big Approach is about weaving creativity and actor skills with emotional intelligence skills for a holistic and wholly unique method to transform you into your best and biggest self. The Big Approach, here on MaximizeU.life.
Pressure pushing down on me, pressing down on you, no man has fall. Under pressure, chipping around, kick my brain to the ground. These are the days it never rained, but it pours on the edge of every day.
Every moment. And we are back with Everett Quinton, every moment on the edge of every moment of every day, of every life. Okay, so so you boom, you're on, you're a part, you're a member of this, you're doing your shows, you're learning your craft, and for the sake of all that I want to talk about in the next section, I'm going to jump ahead to the mystery of Irma Vep. You would say that pretty much puts you guys on the serious map. It's not really. It was Charles's most accessible play. Yes. But it's certainly and that makes sense. Most accessible, and of course, sad, but realistically, that's often the case. The thing that the most people can wrap their brains around is the thing.
But for years, I thought, what does this have to do with our mandate? And then my friend Daphne Gross, who was she did everything at the theater. She was everything. If you needed something done, Daphne would do it. Although she couldn't be the dresser in the play. My sister Mary was running the sound, and Daphne was supposed to be the dresser. Oh. And Daphne said, I can't do this. So they switched, and my sister Mary came back and did the play. But one day we were eating, and she said, I can't tell if the Irma Vep is the best play ever written or the worst piece of shit ever perpetrated on a public. And I thought, and I for years wondered why it was part of our mandate. And then I realized that the entire play is abstract. It's an abstract expressionist work of art. And when that dawned on me, it suddenly moved it into another place for me. So it is but like we got so much accolades but it's like, the song YMCA. Remember Patrick Wetzel? We were at Disneyland and the song came on and we go, YMCA, and all these older people, and Patrick turned around and said, it gets them all the time, Everett. And it's like exactly. But the Mystery of Irma Vep is just like that too. But Charles always said that cliche is the armature of the absolute. And what he did was he strung together all these cliches. And so you get it, but the play is so nonlinear that when I realized that, I thought suddenly all the questions, you have to answer actors' questions, but often it doesn't mean anything. Just go. Once you explain the premise, you go. So because when we did Salambo right after, we were back into the daring thing. We were crucified. So,
Well,
so
and they also,
a little unfortunate.
Slice and dice after getting a lot of accolades too. That's part of it.
Exactly. We got lulled into the accolades.
Exactly. Just don't get too big for your britches, bub.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Okay. So, in 1987, your partner, you're grieving. He passes. You're grieving. Your partner, your love. The company is grieving, and you make a decision to step in as the artistic director. Was that an easy, obvious choice? Was that a difficult?
Well, Charles did say I would be it.
Oh, okay.
It was mentioned, so I have to say that. But there was almost a court intrigue. But
of course.
But it didn't last that long. And the fact is that, like when a congressperson dies and their spouse comes in to take it over, that's what it needed. And I don't think anyone else would have. And by this point, I had gained some traction. I had some recognition. And I don't think it would have happened any other way. I just don't think so. And we managed to keep it going for another 10 years. And I'm very proud of the work I did as artistic director there. But again, it was always, I used to say, it was running like hell to stay behind. And it was so painful to not be able to get your head. It was always worried about money all the time. So it was often the work, there was joylessness, not on stage, not in the work, but there was
but in the struggle.
In the struggle, yeah.
In the struggle, and that's a constant for any artist. It's remarkable how that is so pervasive in every aspect of art, and particularly not off the beaten track. Well, that's for another show. I want to get on to something about you. Okay, so this social justice streak that was, did you always have it? My guess is maybe it was clearly there, or was it discovered by the confluence of the times that you grew up in, of being gay, of being and coming to grips with that, of being a member of the Ridiculous Theater? Because, was that just as a part of all of the work that you seem to have done?
I grew up in, my parents, they would there was decency in my family, but there was what is the word? Jackie Kennedy said it about Queen Elizabeth. There was a lack of curiosity, and they were uncurious people. And so there was and my father was a rabid right-wing Republican, and my mother was a lefty. So, and they were both dopes. So it didn't matter. They were left and right of dope. But it was, so I didn't know. And till you get older and you find your way. And then suddenly.
This whole social justice streak emerged.
But it came into me, it came in pretty early. It's particularly around, I got here into the city. This is before I met Charles, was when Anita Bryant started carrying on.
Oh, my Lord.
And I remember going on that first march, and I remember becoming aware of that. And then suddenly I'm in the midst of this gay culture demanding the equality. And so I was aware of it. And
this is a perfect seg into recovering racism.
Recovering racism. That's my new.
That's your new thing. It's your new focus. So talk to me.
What is it? William Kunstler once said that all white people are racist. Mm-hmm. And I've been thinking about that for years since he said it. And we are. I just want. White people are victims of racism as well. White people in this country are victims of racism because racism is so inculcated into us from when we're little kids that we grow up in it, and you're buying the bullshit hook, line, and
sinker.
So, so like there was a judge, like I remember being a teenager when Martin Luther King was killed, and the turbulence in my neighborhood, and we were all afraid. But no one in my family, like especially everyone in my family thought Malcolm X was a bad guy.
Oh, same with my family.
Right. So I didn't know this till later that Malcolm X was, in a sense, a freedom
brilliant
for his people, and the brilliance, exactly. So we grow up in it. And then we have to white people need to learn to shake it off. And I don't think racism is because someone was just talking to me, a friend of mine, I forget her name, but there is no racism. We're one race of people. But what W.E.B. Du Bois called negrophobic dehumanization. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to call it dehumanization.
Oh, completely.
And
that's how they could have slaves. They could justify having slaves.
Exactly.
And we talked about we talked about the documentary Who Put the Klan in Ku Klux Klan, and it was all of these oppressed UK Scottish people that lived in the South and eventually became the oppressors because they wanted to make the money from somebody owning other human beings.
Mm-hmm. And we've got to demand equality, and this and we've got to use I guess what is the thing, the college course, the racist thing, the big deal, everyone, Republicans are all up in arms about.
Oh, teaching racism and yes, and
what's it called?
Oh dear Lord!
God in heaven.
I know it's held
the college thing.
Yeah, it's and teaching what actually happened racially, and
right. And I think I don't know, but I'm not that smart, but we need to change. We've got to change, and it's got to change somewhere. And it's. But
okay, so and we all know, those of us who are willing to make these changes and willing to admit that there is racism, and that we all have unseen bias in us, and we all do. White people do benefit from the system that is completely set up to keep Black people down. So
not just it's all people of color are dehumanized in this country.
Yeah, all people of color. Exactly.
Blacks have gotten
of course. It's anyone that isn't perceived as white. It's ridiculous.
And
this is an interesting thing. I found I Am a Recovering Racist paper by James Holbrook, and he said, as one white commentator wrote, shedding racism is not like taking off a coat. It lies deep in the cells of the body, the detritus of the brain, the chambers of the heart, and the dark recesses of the soul.
And I mean, right. And it's taught to us from when we're children. And like we were told Black girls had razor blades in their hair. And I'm thinking, what the fuck are they going to do with razor blades in their fucking hair? And so we learn.
So how do we want to move this forward as people who feel strongly about this and people who want to use our art to do this? Well,
it has to be in our play. It has to be in our plays. It has to be in our plays.
It has to be in our speaking out.
But also, we've got to pray about it. We must pray about it. We must ask God to come into this and eradicate it. It's because it's gone on too far here.
Well, it's fascinating that lots of people who pray to God do also keep this alive. And anyway,
exactly.
So we are. Time for another break. This is a fabulous convetion, and I want to talk about.
Not enough time to kick all the ass.
There is not, and to talk about the character that you're creating that is gonna deal with this issue when we come back with Everett Quinton. Stay tuned.
Chipping around, kick my brain to the ground. These are the days it never rained, but it edge of every day.
I remember doing that backstage during every show. We would stand backstage and do that to every word.
And the age of
oh my God, just like crazy people. Thank God for you. Okay. Diving back into what we were talking about with Everett Quinton, critical race theory. Thank you very much.
Critical race theory. That's
my God. So, let's talk about your next character that is related to your wanting to deal with this issue.
My next character, who I've already done her twice, is Antifa. It's, hi, I'm your Antifa. Life's a banquet and these fascist motherfuckers are trying to starve us to death. You know what? I wish every fascist in the world would commit suicide.
I stole that. Candles, get the ice out.
On the edge of freedom, baby. No, I stole that joke from Joan Rivers one day when I was a kid. She said, I wish every roach in New York City would commit suicide. And that's what fascists, well, roaches are better than fascists. Roaches are just gorgeous little creatures. Fascists are pieces of...
So Antifa, how does Antifa relate to this recovering
Well, it's a sad world we live in, and racism began with the oligarchs. Racism in America began with oligarch slave owners who dehumanized this bunch of people who, when they were brought over here, I read this great book, Religion in America, and the Africans who were brought here were not savages. They were not.
Well, of course they weren't.
They were.
Developed humans with their own rich culture and understanding.
Before the Portuguese got to Africa, by comparison, Africa was first world. Africans had already figured out how to incinerate human waste and keep their places fabulous. And then these bozos, illiterates from Portugal who just wanted their money, came in. And then, so you get these people, they were not without culture. They were not without religion. They were not without things that move fabulous people.
Soul and spirit and understanding
and then they brought
depth.
them here. They brought them here, stuck them in this servitude.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even like the Muslims, when the Muslims enslaved Africans in the Asia Minor and the Near East, when the slaves converted to Islam because they were there, the Muslims had to free them. Yeah. Because it's in the Quran, you can't enslave a Muslim. Right. But in the Bible, you cannot enslave Christians. But what did the Christians do? They just reinterpreted it. They reinterpreted the book and then continued the dehumanization of the people.
To justify it. Okay.
To make money. For money.
Totally.
And you cannot serve
capitalism.
God. You cannot serve God and mammon at the same time. And, I saw the speech that got Martin Luther King shot. I was watching the speech one day and I'm thinking, that's what got him shot. Because Martin Luther King said, God will break the back of the arrogant nation.
Yeah.
Truly. And the arrogant nation is...
Yeah, I know. I want us to get to Antifa.
But Antifa is, I want it known, I want it on my tombstone that I am an anti-fascist. And I want it known. And the goal of my life is to not let, anyone go unremembered. But the Nazis killed my gay brothers and sisters.
Yeah, truly.
For nothing. 150,000 people, queer people, were killed in the concentration camps. And when everyone else felt sorry for everyone else, no one felt sorry for the queers when they got out. The queers were still these dirty fucking queers who should have got what they got. And so my goal is I want to die an anti-fascist. And what... my first Antifa was neo-Nazis. What's new about it? What we're going to have self-cleaning ovens? What do neo-Nazis do? Nazis are not going to get better. It's not going to get better. And what does Jesse Dollemore call them? The low information crowd. The low information crowd, who said it? Who's the one who said, they came for the Jews, I did nothing. They came for the so-and-so, I did nothing. They came for me and there was nobody to help me. Who's going to help you, low information boobs? Yeah. Who's going to help you? And
they no one, and they only... So,
and I want to write a play. I'm going to put in a play where this guy goes in a time machine and goes back and stops Nathan Hale from going into that bar and go in and say, Nathan, sweetie, they know you're going to get caught and then you're going to get killed. And then the Nazi motherfuckers are going to take over in 2022. So don't waste your time. Go back to Connecticut, be a school teacher, get a cute girlfriend and enjoy yourself. And all these things that we're taught is all rubbish. And then these morons that like, if I worked, like you go to this Congress, I have never in my life, every job, even the worst jobs, my colleagues were all kind of smart. Imagine being a congressperson and the people in that Congress are dumb as a bag of fucking hammers. And it's yeah. So where do you go? You have nothing but your voice. Where do you go? You have nothing but your voice.
I was talking about, go ahead.
You've got to be willing. I remember with homophobia, I was like afraid. I still am at times, but I think, oh, they're going to get me. They're going to get me. And then I realized the only thing you have to fear is dying.
Yeah.
All they can do is kill you. So fuck them. And it's the same with these fascist motherfuckers.
Yeah,
all they can do is kill you.
We're there. And
I hate fascists.
You know,
I hate with not authoritarianism, Stalinism.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Not just I get the economic differences and the political differences, but it's all authoritarian and it's all the same. And
completely and based on capitalism and our climate change. It's all connected. It's all connected.
Look at South America, and every fascist coup in South America was instituted by the oil companies. Yeah, why did Eisenhower go and befriend Francisco Franco in Spain? And why did Eisenhower allow Mossadegh to be overthrown? Why? Because of oil. And I mean, if there's all this oil, share the fucking money.
Yeah.
Like, what's this? What is it? What is it? Gambia now? They just found all this oil in Gambia. Yeah. And the fucking authoritarian leader of Gambia is living like a prince. His son has like 3 cars and the Gambians are starving.
Okay, well, we've got to break from that. We've got to break from that if you want to.
Feed those people.
I'm with you.
Now, there I am. Now look at me. I'm like,
I know.
I want Antifa
we only have 3 minutes till we're ending. So I want you to plug your stuff
on my gravestone.
Yes, and I want you to plug the last ELC Good Gifts catalog.
ELCA Good Gifts catalog. And I will tell you about it when we come back.
No, this is the end. This is the end of our show.
Send your checks to Grace and St. Paul's Church, 123 West 71st Street, New York, New York, 10023. ELCA Good Gifts. We send goods and things to people less fortunate than ourselves, and it's our Advent project, and I'm pushing it. ELCA Good Gifts. Send your checks made out to Grace and St. Paul's Church, 123 West 71st Street, New York, New York, 10023. Anything, $5, $10. You can get chickadees, and you can buy mosquito nets for people that need mosquito nets. You can get water purification systems for people who need it.
Fantastic. Send your checks. This is great.
Send your checks made out to Grace and St. Paul's Church.
Yes, This will be in the notes. They will be able to see it.
123 West 71st Street, New York, New York, 10023. I never have this opportunity to push this, but it's our Advent appeal, and buy someone a chicken.
Yes.
Buy someone a chicken.
Buy someone a chicken.
My little
chicken. So, this was a glorious, passionate conversation. I want you to know that you can find Everett at everettquinton.net. There is a wonderful book on the theatrical life and times of Charles Ludlum in the Ridiculous Theatrical Company by David Kaufman, if you're interested in further research on that genre/company. If you are interested in checking me out, go to sandrabargman.com. And if you are interested in the live CD recording of The Edge of Every Day, you can find that at Amazon. You can also find it on Spotify and CD Baby. So now, remember, folks, next Monday.
St. Paul's Church, 123 West 71st Street, New York, New York, 10023. And next Sunday?
Perfect. And next Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And remember, You are always at the edge of the miraculous. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend, for being on my show. I love your passion.
We have Grace and fame.
Under pressure. Under pressure. Under pressure.
Everett Quinton is an actor, director, and playwright, and was a longtime member of Charles Ludlum's Ridiculous Theatrical Company, where he was an actor, director, and costume designer, and from 1987 to 1997 served as the artistic director. While there, he appeared in over 75 productions, including Camille, Bluebeard, Exquisite Torture, Turds in Hell, Conquest of the Universe, Utopia, Inc., The Bells, Movieland, Galas, A Tale of Two Cities, Obie Award, and The Mystery of Irma Vep, Obie and Drama Desk Awards, just to name a few. Most recently, he starred off-Broadway in the hit Drop Dead Perfect, produced by the Penguin Rep and directed by Joe Brancato, and in Anthony and Cleopatra at the McCarter Theater Center. Everett recently directed the beautiful revival of Charles Ludlum's The Mystery of Irma Vep at Red Bull Theater. Other credits include Twelfth Night at the Arizona Theater Company, Shakespeare in Hollywood, Helen Hayes Award, at Arena Stage in D.C., Women Beware Women, Callaway Award, and The Witch of Edmonton at Red Bull Theater. Tennessee Williams, Now the Cats with Jeweled Claws at the Williams Festival in Provincetown, and as part of La Mama's 50th anniversary season. George Osterman's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Brother Truckers, Bessie Award, and Richard and Michael Simon's Murder at Mincing Manor, Drama League Award, again, to name a few. Everett has starred in his own one-person show, Bitch Slapped by God, at London's Drill Hall. Film and TV credits include The Louise Log, Nurse Jackie, Louie, Natural Born Killers, Big Business, Deadly Illusion, Forever Lulu, Miami Vice, and Law and Order. In 2011, Everett received the Off-Broadway Alliance Award, Legend of Off-Broadway.